All right, folks, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Night Live on Tenor Monty Fishing YouTube channel. Had a couple weeks off, man. Been busy. Been out to Colorado. We went to Fayetteville for a while. We went to Kentucky Lake. I've been doing a little bit of everything, and it's been nice. But we are back, and I'm looking forward to talking to Josh and Jeff, and then Cale's going to come on behind them, and then we got Nate closing out the show. But we're going to talk about how to catch a giant bass on Lake of the Ozarks. But before we get into the interview, as always, want to thank the folks that have helped support this live stream. Bass and Braid. If you have not checked out Bass Braid, it's a high quality 8-strand braid at a very affordable price. This is that time of year where we don't use a ton of braid in the winter, but right now it's that time of the year to start throwing top waters. The frog bite's getting ready to start happening if it hasn't already. A-rig is still going on. There's a lot of options, but just check out this Bass and Braid, sniping braid. They offer a little bit smaller pound test than the sniping braid. This is like 40, 50, and 60 pound test. It's geared more for bass, and the sniping braid's geared more for crappie. But a lot of us fish with spinning rods nowadays, and that 10 to 15 pound test is perfect for spinning rod, with the 8-pound, 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. So go check them out, man. They're making a pretty good product, and it's a really good guy that's working over there and getting this stuff out there. Also, Baitworks has been with us for quite a while. Next time you're, sitting around the house late at night, and you want to look at the latest and the greatest and restock. A lot of times we don't realize that we're out of something until we get out there on the lake and we need it. Oh, good time to order that is late at night after you get back from a fishing trip and you're like, I need a pack of like Cincos or something. So check out Baitworks. Use the code THM10 scrolling across the bottom of the screen, get you 10% off. And it also helps support the channel. And Cumberland Pro Lures, man, they make a really good jig. I've been fishing with Cumberland Pro Lures for like 6 or 7 years. It's one of the best jigs, hands down, at a very affordable price point. They're like less than $4. Jigs have gotten ridiculously expensive. So to find a really good quality jig for I think it's like $3.29 or $3.39. Pick up a couple. They got a bunch of really cool colors, a bunch of different styles, but they're good quality stuff made down in Georgia. All right. We got that out of the way. So thanks for coming on here, Josh and Jeff. And we started talking a little bit. I always hate backstage talking about stuff because I know everybody wants to hear the whole full story. So I'm glad we didn't get too far into it, but let's just start off by, your experience of Lake of the Ozarks. Was that the first time you've ever fished there? Have you been there before, or what's your experience with Lake of the Ozarks?
We've been there quite a bit, and his experience obviously is a lot more than mine. He was fishing it before I was ever born, but just the bash. I mean, we fished 10 years?
Yeah, at least 10 years. Yeah.
And other small club tournaments out there, nothing bigger than that, I would say, in the last 10 years.
So how did that, Jeff, you've been fishing it for quite a while. How did you first get into going down and fishing because it's kind of like an annual event for some people. It's kind of like Montauk, open day at Montauk. Yeah. There's just our deer season, there's a group of people. And once you start doing it, it seems like you just keep going back and doing it every year.
Well, like I said, I've been fishing down there for 45 years at least, and have fished a lot of tournaments over the years down there. And when they started doing this event, just thought, yeah, it's kind of neat. It's neat when you can fish an event like that it evens everything up for everybody, because literally one cast and you can have a competitive fish. And Josh was with me the first year that we started fishing. I think my brother-in-law Steve fished with us then too. And the first year, I think I had a second place in a time slot.
6+ pounds. I don't remember what the exact weight was.
Nice.
It seems like most years we've had 1 or 2, sometimes 3 money fish. So we've really enjoyed it. We enjoy that time of the year being out there and doing that. And that's when them big females are active.
Yeah, man, that's great to go down there and at least catch, make your money back on the tournament. You're getting close to breaking even.
Right.
It's a great experience regardless. But if you cash a check, it just makes it that much better, you know?
Sure. Yes.
And everybody's got a shot in that deal, even if you've got very little experience. Like you said, it's one bite. You're not putting a bag of 5 together. You can go out there, catch a 5-pounder, and you get your entry fee back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the magic of it. Is it's you know, you don't have to be the actual best fisherman or fisherwoman on the lake to make that cast and get that fish in a boat. It's like you said, it's more of an even playing field. I mean, you got to kind of have an idea, maybe, you know, what section of the lake is firing and kind of, you know, what water column the fish are in, that kind of thing. But still, I mean, you can tie on like a black and blue lizard Texas rig and throw it around, and you got a pretty good chance of catching a 7-pounder. You just never know, man. It's pretty cool. It's a cool tournament.
You're right.
So when did you guys get down to the lake? And then talk about like practice. Were you looking for a specific pattern, or were you just kind of feeling it out, or how did that all go down?
Well, we both laughed because he actually got out to fish a couple days earlier in the week, but then I met him early Friday morning, just go out, fish 3/4 of a day, go get our hotel and kind of relax. And we're driving out. He lives in DeSoto, Missouri. We hit about 44 and stop for breakfast. Look out at his outboard. It's laying on its side on the boat. He had just fixed his hydraulic steering and changed some seals in it, and I guess some air got in there.
Air got in it.
So we had no more fluid, anything else in the boat, towed it back to his house, had to wait for a boat shop to open, fix that. Then we finally got out to the lake, what, 1 o'clock?
About 1 o'clock, 1:30, something like that. Yeah. But we knew where we were going to fish. We've got an area of the lake out there that we fish every year. You know, we've done this long enough. We fish up the Niangas. We just like that area of the lake. And we've got different banks, different spots up through there that we fish every year. And so literally, you know, we like to go out there and practice, but we're still going to fish the same spots no matter what.
And there's enough stuff in there that no matter what stage they're in, you kind of know different spots where they'll be on.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think that's smart to, if you know it's an area that's always holding fish, why not just focus on that and try to, because I mean, Lake of the Ozarks is a big lake. You can waste a lot of time running around if you get spun out, but you know, it's good to have a couple mile stretch or a 5-mile stretch that, you know, a lot of different places. And if you get bid on a certain kind of bank, maybe, 10 other banks within 5 miles that are just like that, and you can kind of run that pattern, and that helps you put together the pieces of the puzzle. Because like I said, man, that's a big old lake, and a lot of times they're biting. You know, I fish there. I fish there probably 4 or 5 times a year, but I fish there enough to hear people talk about how if they're not biting, you know, between the like Hurricane Deck Bridge and the 26-mile marker, you can run to the glaze, and if not biting there, you can run up towards, the tow bridge and the dam, and find that there's typically like a section that's fishing a little bit better than the other sections.
And depending on the year, there's different areas of the lake where they turn on sooner. The water gets warmer. It seems like the Niangas warm up a little faster. It's very similar to fishing up the Osage, and going up above, Proctor Creek and up in the upper lake up there. You're in those areas they do warm up sooner, and the fish start moving up quicker. And it just depends on the weather on that given year. Have they already made their move in those areas? And are you behind it? Or do you hit it right on? And it seemed like this year, obviously, in the Nianga area, that area of the lake, it hit it just perfect. And I know from talking to a lot of guys out there, the lower lake was really tough.
Yeah. Back to the boat thing. It's like, those boats, man. It's you just never know when something's going to go wrong. That's like that's like that with anything. If you change a tire, like your trailer tire goes flat, or you're looking back there for like 3 days just to make sure the thing's not flying off.
Yeah, you haven't heard the rest of the story. Josh can tell you the rest of
that wasn't the bad part. So I caught that fish first thing Saturday morning. We run it down to Red Oak, weigh it. Everything's great. We're feeling good. I catch another one. It's about 4.5. I think it was 4.5 something or 4.4 something. We know it's going to be a money fish. So we're heading back down to Red Oak, and we're about 3 miles from Larry Gale. The motor just spins out, over revs. We lose thrust. We thought we threw a prop or something. Sits down. He starts it back up, and it just sounds like metal on metal back there.
It's knocking.
Oh.
So luckily there were some guys coming by that were nice enough to, we waved them down. They stopped. Some guys out of Imperial. I wish I remember their name, because they actually gave me a ride in my fish all the way down to Red Oak and back, and then brought me back. We towed his boat to the ramp, towed all the way back to DeSoto, then went to Jackson that same night, got my boat, came back to the lake for Sunday.
Got back out there about midnight, got a few hours of sleep, and then got up and fished Sunday.
That's awesome, man. That's dedication. That's dedication.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. So it was a crazy event, but just those guys stopping and giving me a ride in, just the kindness of strangers. I mean, that just really hit me. And I mean, fishermen are like that with a lot of guys, but not everybody would do that.
I mean, while he was going to the weigh-in, I just put the trolling motor down and started heading for Larry Gale. That's where we put in. And between where we broke down and Larry Gale, there was at least 3 other, boats of fishermen that stopped and asked me if they could tow me in or help out in any way. So, that's a testament to, I think, most of the guys that are out there that are in this sport. And we're very fortunate.
Yeah, fishermen get a bad name sometimes, but there's a lot of good guys doing what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the state of the world in general now, you turn on the news and everybody's, scheming and everything's all negative, but it is nice to know that there's still way, way, way more great people in this world that stop and help a fellow angler out. So that's a great story, man. I didn't realize that happened. It's even crazier that you drove home and then came back to the lake for some more.
Well, we hope.
I don't blame you, though. I mean,
Sunday, so we were going to fish. We didn't want to sit in a hotel room all day. Let's get a boat and
let's
do it.
Just up here and drop my skeeter off at DeSoto and come on to Jackson. And his wife Christy, she had fresh cookies right out of the oven. We filled up our coffee cups. We left Jackson here at 8:00 and headed back to Lake of the Ozarks. So it was quite a trip.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So when you did fish on Friday, did you get a clue on what was going on the lake? I mean, did you feel confident going into Saturday that you were going to at least catch, a check fish, or were you or did you even really fish very hard, or what was that story?
We didn't fish too hard Friday.
When I was out there Monday and Tuesday, I found some fish, and I caught a couple of 5-pound fish in the areas we normally fish. And so Friday we stayed away from those banks, and we just went and fished some other banks. But even there, the fish, they were doing the same thing that we'd found earlier in the week. So we were pretty confident, because the area where we fish, what was that, 2 years ago I won a time slot. Last year we both weighed 5-pound fish in that area. So we've got a lot of confidence in that area.
Yeah, Champion Boats Community says he had boat issues last fall during the bash, and he had multiple people who stopped.
That's cool to hear.
That's cool. Yeah.
It is, because I'm not going to say we've all been in that position, but if you haven't yet, you're going to be someday.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just good karma to help folks out, because they're all out there. We're all out there doing the same thing, trying to have a good time. And it's kind of scary, I always think about that when I fish in the winter a lot of times, and
We
I'm
do.
out there, you know, I fish cedar a lot, and a lot of times there might be one other boat on the lake, maybe two in the winter. And I always think about that. I'm like, what would I do? And I don't have cell phone reception over there too. If you get over there, T-Mobile, you got like it's kind of a ghost bar. Every once in a while, it'll pop up for just a little bit, and then it'll go away. But in the parking lot, it's SOS. You got no service, and then there's a couple spots out on the lake. So depending on where I broke down, if I did, you know, I could potentially spend the night out there. You know,
Well, we winter fit. I've got a place on Wapapella, and so we fish year round. And now that I'm retired, you know, I'm out there a lot of times during the week. Of course, the good thing there is you've got a multitude of crappie fishermen, so you never totally alone. And then my buddy Doug, he's somewhere on the lake, and as is Warren Mannion and a lot of guys. You know, we all know each other over there, and so you know. But by the same token, it don't take very long to get into some trouble, you know. And you know, the older I've got, I used to be like everybody else. I never had my life jacket on when I was fishing, you know, but I found and you know, I'd wear it when we were running with the big motor and I'm up on plane.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I've gotten even now, if I'm by myself, I keep that life jacket on, you know. And with the new life jackets, the self-inflating time, they're easy to wear. And it's just, I think it's a good thing, especially in the winter, because if you fall in, you know, you don't have much time to get yourself back out and in that boat, you know, before you could, you know, be in trouble with hypothermia.
Yeah, and you could bump your head on the way out and not be conscious, and that thing would keep you up. My buddy Ron, man, he is religious about wearing a life vest. I mean, he should get like the Fisherman Life Vest Wearer of the Year award if there was such a thing. But it doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees out or if it's 20 degrees out. He's got that thing on, and it's a great ideal. You know, it's just like anything else. If you just wear it a few times, you can get used to it. At first it's cumbersome, but after a while it just becomes second nature. It's kind of like I wear that GoPro chest cam all the time. And the first couple times you wear that, it is strange. You know, it's restrictive and it's pulling on you. It's like a man bra basically, you know, but after you wear it for a while, you know, you get used to it. And most things in life are kind of like that. So walk us through the morning before you caught that fish. You got an area you're going to start in, you go to that starting spot. Talk about, you know, how it, like before it happened and the hook set and all that kind of stuff.
So like he said, he had found those fish in that area. So we usually try to get to our spots pretty early. If you've been on a ramp during the bash, it can get interesting. So I think we had the boat in by 5:30. Yeah. I would say got out to our spot, just put the trolling motor down on spot lock, had a cup of coffee, wait for start time, but didn't do.
When was start time?
6:30.
6:30. Okay.
Yeah. So we fished a couple docks down a stretch there. Didn't do much good. Then got to an opening where there was a little brush, and he was fishing in front of me, throwing a chatterbait, I think, at that time, because he had caught some fish on that earlier in the week. And I was kind of following up with a flipping tube. And I've got one sitting here on a little custom head he makes. Brought it over some brush.
Is that a stupid tube? Is that rigged up stupid tube?
No, it's kind of a custom deal he has where you got a little weed guard on the front.
Oh, yeah.
And the hook on that.
That's a Doug Cheatham secret there.
I was fishing with Doug, and we both like to fish tubes. And he had showed me a similar head to this. And I make almost everything that I fish with. I make jigs, spinner baits, chatterbaits, shaky heads. I make almost everything I fish with. I said, you know what? I know a guy can make those. And so I started making them. And where his has the one wire, I put two in mine. It makes a Y. And it seems It seems
show up.
Here, let me. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it now. Yep. Okay. What size hook is that in there?
it's a 4/0. It's a 4/0
Okay.
jig hook. It's a Mustang, and
Gotcha.
it works good. The thing about it is, like you was talking about the stupid tube. I'm gonna pull this out of here. You can see what it looks like. And with a stupid tube, you just have that ball that's up on the front of it, so you can put it up in there and get it twisted. With this, I've got more weight back on the shank of the hook, and it allows that tube to have more of a horizontal fall than like you will with a stupid tube.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know Doug and I were convinced that makes a difference with those tubes.
Oh, I saw Doug. One time I was fishing. The first and only time I've ever taken Doug with me over to Cedar, and we were out on this point, and I drug a jig across it and a worm, and I think we might have caught a couple small fish. Well, he was throwing that similar setup there, and next thing you know, he bows up on like a 6-pounder, and I said, "What are you fishing?" He's like, "Oh, just a tube." And I'm like, "What kind of tube? How you got that rigged up?" He was a little bit hush about it, and he gave me some. He's like, "Don't be showing these on your video." And I'm like, "Okay, I won't say nothing about it."
But it's gonna be mad at you.
Yeah.
The cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah. I didn't show you the tube, so
No.
we're good on that. But yeah, I've netted a number of Doug's fish on that tube. So
yeah, I bet you have. So Jeff, you're throwing a chatterbait. Josh, you're behind him throwing that tube. You're just going down the bank and then take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, we had that fish in the boat. The sun wasn't even over the trees. I think it was before 7 o'clock still. So we fished down a little bit. I mean, we got it in the boat. We knew it was big, but the scale wasn't cooperating in the boat. So I'm thinking 6.5 pounder, nothing too crazy. And it took about 2 docks, and he said, "You know what? We probably just need to go weigh that fish. It's big enough. Let's not mess around." Yeah. So we took it down to weigh it, and I was kind of shocked when it showed 7.7.
Yeah, that's a toad.
It is. And when we first started fishing these, another friend, you probably Alan Turnbow, he always said, if you're in one of these tournaments and you get one that you think could be up there close to the top, he gave us good advice. He said, don't mess with it. Put in the live well and go straight to the weigh-in, because he said, you don't want to leave that thing in the live well and have it for some reason die on you. We've all had that happen.
Yeah.
You can't even figure it out sometimes, but just take it right straight to the weigh-in and get it weighed.
And it's not like one of those lower, like a 45th place fish. You might be waiting to see, if somebody's not going to weigh in a bigger fish. You got a 7+ pounder, man. You're going to get that time slot most likely, and you're right there. And a lot of times that wins the whole deal.
Right.
So where did you catch that? You said you were fishing some docks. Did that fish come off of a dock, or was it on an open bank, or?
It was kind of a gap between the docks, and it's a bank they like to spawn on in the spring, but they'll kind of work their way down it. So they weren't quite to the spawning section.
It was kind of a small chunk rock section that they I think they stage on it before they spread out along that pea gravel bank.
But there was some brush that had washed in there, and that's where that fish was. That tube came over that brush, and that fish had it.
Did you know it was a good one as soon as you set the hook?
I knew it was a good one. I wasn't expecting the belly to be as huge as it was when we got it in the net. I mean, having it on 20-pound test with that tube, you can horse it pretty good to the boat. So it wasn't some epic fight. I wish I could have a tail like that. He got it in the net first try, so there wasn't much drama there.
That's good, man, for sure. So you got to thinking about it a little bit. A little birdie was saying, we need to get this sucker back to the weigh-in scales. You were up there, you weigh it in, and then so what's going through your mind after that? You're like, you know,
I
you're
was
like, man, this might be the one.
weigh it in like that, and then the guys at the scale say, "Yeah, the guy in front of you just weighed an 8." Oh wow, never seen an 8 weight out here in the spring, so it was wild. And we actually got to talk to him briefly as we were idling out of Red Oak.
Yeah,
and the way he looked, you could tell he caught an 8 because he was shaking.
When you talked to him later, we were idling out, and I told Josh, I said, I think that's the guys that just weighed at 8 because they walked down and they were excited. And we pulled up beside him, and I said, hey, I waved him down. I said, were you the guys that just weighed that 8-pounder? He said, yeah. And he was sitting there, he had a cigarette, and he was so excited. It was shaking. It was a blast just talking to him, just to see the excitement.
Yeah.
You know, that he exhibited. It was neat.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't get excited over catching something like that, then you don't need to be fishing. That's for sure.
Right.
That's true.
You're right.
Yeah. So you caught. That's crazy. So within the first hour, there was a 7.7 and an 8 weighed in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, and when he weighed his other fish, he was standing with his sack, and if you look at it on the video of those guys, he's actually in the video with his sack in the water in the tank when they weighed their fish.
That 828.
828, and you know it's just crazy that he was right there at the weigh-in for both of the fish that finished right in front of him.
Yeah. So if you see us going to a big bass weigh-in next year, get right in front of us in the weigh-in line. You're going to do good.
That's the key. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy that you got to see the 3 biggest bass weighed in that whole tournament.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. And then you got another check fish.
Yeah, it was a 4.7, quite close to 4.5, and that's when the motor gave out on us taking that fish in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, at least you won enough money to help out with the motor, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It helped.
Did you figure out what it was?
Yeah, I had to have the boat doctor every time he had to put a new lower unit on it.
Mm.
Pinion gear in the lower unit came apart. So like I said, I ended up just having to replace the lower unit. So yeah, it wasn't cheap, but
would have been a really sad drive if we hadn't caught those fish.
When you hear that motor, when you hear that 250 knocking, the first thing you're thinking is something up in the power head. And I'd rather replace the lower unit than have to do something with that power head.
Yeah, that's true.
You're talking major dollars then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you catch your other check fish on that tube as well?
I did.
Okay. I don't blame you. I would have kept throwing. I'd be throwing it right now. I mean,
well, that Saturday especially, Sunday too. They didn't seem to be on the moving stuff, so that tube caught a lot of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Did you guys catch quite a few fish? I mean, was it a good fishing day, regardless of the size?
On Saturday,
yeah,
we caught a lot of fish. Sunday was slower, but we didn't have any fish that was big enough to weigh Sunday, but we still caught keeper fish.
Yeah, I think we still had 4 or 5 keepers Sunday, but it was a lot slower.
It was a lot slower.
Yeah, so nothing you thought would get a check, not even close.
No.
Yeah. Let's see. Stephanie says, did you put that tube on anything else other than the tube? Maybe the tube head, or I don't know exactly what you mean by that. I mean, most people do like Texas rig it, or I've heard of people Carolina rigging tube. I've done that before. I put you put a little foam earplug in there and kind of help it float up off the bottom.
Yeah, there's a time of the year, and I'll Texas rig a tube, especially if you're fishing right up in the brush, a lot of times like a Wapapella, they'll get real shallow later in the year, and fishing around a lot of chunk rock and stuff like that. And that's when I'll switch up to the Texas rig a little bit then. But most of the time we fish it on this head right here.
I think especially when that water is a little colder, the fall rate, just having that head on the inside slows it down, gives it kind of that little helicopter.
Yeah. It makes a difference. I discovered that stupid tube type of setup. Man, it was in a BFL setting, like probably 10 years ago. There was another co-angler that made the actual jig heads, and he's the guy that I get them from. And he just swore by it, and he always did really good. Mm-hmm. And the first time I ever fished it was a regional down on Neely Henry, and I literally tied it on the first day of the tournament. I'd never really thrown it. I had a lot of confidence in the tube, of course. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, I did pretty good on it during that tournament. I think I got like 37th, out of, I don't know, a couple hundred people, but it was decent. But I had enough confidence to tie that on. And then you start getting bites and some feedback in it. And then it becomes your favorite way to rig a tube.
Sure.
And I think with a tournament like the Bash, you're fishing pressure as much as you are fishing the fish, and having a bait that'll get bit when there is a little more fishing pressure is key in a lot of cases.
Agree. Because talk about how many, were there a lot of people in your area? Did you see a lot of those?
There were quite a few. We started off, I think, the only boat kind of in the little area, but as the morning went on, you're seeing 10 boats when you look down the bank. And that's any time in that Bash, it seems like if you're within 15, 20-minute drive of one of those weigh-in sites, you're going to be fishing with a ton of other boats.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just kind of gotten a habit in that particular event, trying to just do something a little different, fish the other fishermen as much as a fish. You figure the fish that you're fishing for, let's say it's a bank. Well, how many lures is that fish seeing, in a day's time? And so, if you can find something that's just a hair different, and saying that, if you fished any amount of time, sometimes it's just a matter of right cast, right when the fish's mood is to be active, I guess. But we try to do something just a little different if we can.
Yeah, especially that Sunday where everything's been beaten up. I remember the times that I've been there. It's like you get to your starting spot, and a lot of times you're able to fish where you want to fish, but then as soon as you leave and you go to some other place, you look in that cove and there's like 10 boats in that cove, and you're like, let's go to the next one. There's like 12 boats in that one. You're like, holy cow! You can spend 30 minutes running around, not even really having a place to fish. So.
And truthfully, in that event, it's at least after you fish your first spot, you're probably just as well just get in line and just fish. Especially certain areas of the lake, it's crazy how many boats there are.
Mm-hmm. I'm texting Cale right now. There he is. I can see him. He's in the queue. We're all good, buddy. I'll bring you in here in just a second. Yeah. So what you got plans for the money besides the repairing the lower unit?
Well, the lower unit's already replaced and we're ready to go. We fished the Wapapella circuit, there on Wapapella, and I'll be down there bright and early Thursday to practice, Thursday and Friday, and then we'll fish the tournament on Saturday. Nice.
How's fishing been down there? Is it still how's the water levels?
Water's very high. I think
when
I looked yesterday, it was about 16 foot over summer pool. And
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of water.
I know.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, I was talking to Doug yesterday morning. He thinks possibly by the weekend it'll be down, maybe 8 or 9 foot over, because they've got those gates wide open. after I picked up the boat, I pulled over there to Redmond Creek and put it in just so I could take a little spin with it. And as I was pulling it into Redmond Creek, I looked down below the dam, and there's enough water coming through there that it's all out of its banks down below. So, so yeah.
Yeah. So we're going fishing again this weekend.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, man. It's like, that's overwhelming. You know,
It
there's like
is.
so many places.
Trying to just locate them, you know, just to find it. It scatters them so much, you know, but we're going to be out there.
Yeah. Well, at least they'll be closer to the creek channels if there's 3 or 4 less feet of water, I guess. Maybe just trying to be optimistic.
You never know. We might be fishing back in some guy's Milo field, you know.
Yeah.
You say that. One time did real good in the tournament, Truman, literally fishing in a guy's Milo field when the lake was sky high, and we was up there above Bucksaw up the Grand, and those bass were moved up in, or the shad were there. So you never know. You just, you know, that high water, it's a game changer.
Well, that's the magic of fishing. It's like no matter how many years you do it, you'll never master it. It changes. So it's one of the, in my opinion, it's one of the most difficult things to figure out, because it's not, you know, people compare it to golf, or you compare it to another, you know, stick and ball sport, but a lot of those sports have a lot more controlled variables. You know, there's only so many variables in any of those sports, where when you're chasing a wild animal, there's just an unlimited amount of variables, and that's what keeps us coming back. It's just the magic of trying to chase this little brown or little green fish around. And sometimes I think I'm crazy for doing it. My grandma thinks I'm crazy because I throw them back. She's like, you mean you drive an hour and a half, you spend all that gas money, and you catch the fish and you just throw them back? What's wrong with you? And like, I just like fishing, you know.
We take a picture of them, you know. That's as good.
Well, my whole plan is when I retire, you know, like I've told her before, I was like, if I keep those fish, then I've got a budget in 30 minutes or 45 minutes to clean those fish at the end of the day.
That's right.
But if I throw them back, I can fish for another 30, 45 minutes and not worry about it. So
you're right.
Yeah. When I retire, I have more time, and maybe I'll start keeping some crappie or something.
There you go.
Solid plan.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to bring Cale in here. Josh, Jeff, it was really, really nice to meet you, to hang out, and great story. Good luck this Saturday.
Thank you.
Hope you catch one of those 28-pound bags that's swimming around in Wapapello somewhere.
Well,
we're going to do our best.
We're definitely going to try.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Appreciate it.
All right, man. You guys have a great evening.
You too.
Okay. Bye. All right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Great story. The boat breaks down. Somebody picks them up, helps them out. Life is good. That's part of fishing, man. Fishing's a great community. You know, everything's, I mean, there's a lot of bad rap. There's a lot of bad, negative stuff going on in the world right now. But, and even in the professional bass fishing community, you hear a lot of crap going on. But bottom line is, most people, most folks, the majority of us, are just good people that will not think twice about helping out a fellow angler if we see them in a tight situation. So Cale, let's bring you in. You good? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, cool. I'm going to bring in Cale here. What's going on, buddy?
How you doing?
I am doing pretty good. I like your little tackle room there. You got some stuff there on the pegboard. It's nice.
Well, it's the boat's kind of crammed in this little garage. I got to trim the engine down, fold the tongue in, but I get it in here.
Yeah, I need to do that in my garage. I got a 16-foot John boat, and it fits in my garage fine. But I've got so much crap in boxes, and they're on shelves. It's kind of halfway organized, but I need to do like the whole pegboard deal. And I think
don't let it fool you. It's not organized. It's just stuff hanging up everywhere.
It's more organized than my crap.
I kind of have an idea where things are at when I need it, but I can. The good thing is it's right here on the wall, so I'm sitting in the boat now. I can reach over here and grab whatever I need if certain time of the year, take things out, put stuff in. So.
Lost you. We're back. Yeah, I always forget that. I realize that I need when I'm out there fishing a lot of times. You know, I'm like I fished a tournament at Kentucky Lake just a couple weeks ago, and I was looking for some June bug Zoom speed crawls in my tackle bag because I fished as a co-angler, and I always have speed crawls and June bug in my bag, always. And I remembered I was fishing a winter tournament a month earlier, and I was just throwing an A rig pretty much, and I was throwing a shaky head, and I was throwing a little small swim bait. And I took a lot of stuff that I knew I wasn't going to be needing out, and I put them in this random box. And I put that random box with the other random boxes that should be up on a pegboard in my garage. Yep. And long story short, I got out there in that tournament, and I was rigging up I was just going to throw like a black and blue jig, and I needed that trailer on there. And I'm like, where the heck is my June bug speed crawl? So that's when I usually find out that I need something, when I actually need it.
I have a bad habit of leaving things in the boat way longer than they need to. Like, I'll leave some of the summer stuff in it all the way into the winter until I know 100% I'm not going to use that. And then that's when I'll take it out.
Yeah. You never know when that, that water might warm up to 51 degrees and you can get a little spook bite. You sneak it in there.
Yeah.
The optimistic mind of a fisherman.
Right.
So let's start at like your experience on Lake of the Ozarks. Have you been to Lake of the Ozarks much, and have you fished the Big Bass Bash in the future, or what's that story?
I almost fished Lake of the Ozarks exclusively. I do venture out a couple places. My work hosts a tournament twice a year. Sometimes it's on Truman. I've been to Pound of Terror for that. Table Rock a few times, but 98% of the time when I go fishing, it's to Lake of the Ozarks.
So it's your home lake for sure.
Oh yeah. My grandma had a place down there when I was young, and so I spent a lot of time down there, like probably the first 12 or 14 years of my life. My dad was fishing Bass World Sports a lot, and so that's one of the places I grew up and learned how to fish. Long story short, that lake house got sold. My dad got out of the tournament scene, sold all his stuff. So for basically took like a 10-year break from being down there at all. I was playing baseball, didn't have no money to buy my own boat. So get out of school, get out of college, went to work, got a job, bought my own boat and picked back up. I was 24 or so, I guess. And so I've been at it the last 7-8 years, I guess it is. And taking that break off, not that I knew a whole lot back then anyway. I was 12, 14 years old, just doing what my dad told me to do. But it's been a learning curve, and I've got some good buddies that have helped me, and some guys that my dad fished with back then that have never given up, and they're still at it. So just, spending a lot of time on the water as much as I can. And I've got a wife and kid now, so that's changed things a little bit, but she is pretty good and lets me get away quite a bit. So I do spend a lot of time down there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I got my wife's pretty good too, man. It's you gotta respect her as well and kind of keep the peace sometimes and not be over greedy, because a lot of times we just want to go all the time. But you gotta get a little happy medium there. Yeah, and it's good that you got people that that you can bounce ideals off of and maybe show you this and that. And like a dad that fishes, that goes a long way and gets you out there in the water early and shows you some stuff. And then you're close to did you say you live right on the lake, or how far from the lake?
No, I'm south of Wentzville, so I'm probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes from Kaufman Beach, I would say.
Yeah, that's still a drive.
Yeah. And most of the time I'll wake up, 2-3 o'clock on a Saturday morning, drive down there, fish all day, turn around, drive home, because I don't have a place to stay. And if I'm gonna I'm sure this will change as I get a little older, but if I'm going to spend the money on a hotel room, I'm just going to put that money in my fuel tank, drive home, sleep in my own bed.
Yeah. You can do that too. Yeah, you're right. I used to do that a lot. I'd go to Montauk, and it's it's a little over 3 hours from my house. I'd call it the suicide run. I'd leave early at the butt crack of dawn, fish all day long. And trout fishing wears you out, man, because you're wading, you're standing in the water wading. And then I'd fish till dark and come back. And I used to do that quite a bit, It wears you out, but it's worth it.
Definitely.
Time is short. Yeah. So did you get some practice time in before the Big Bass Bash?
I did not. I kind of chose not to. I've had a couple bad experiences with practicing. So typically I don't even do it. I have an idea in my head of what I want to do and what I think the fish might be doing or should be doing. And I just kind of expand from there if I have to. But we got down there like, I don't know, probably mid-afternoon Friday or so, and we were staying at my brother-in-law fished with me. His aunt and uncle have a place in the Niangua, so that's where we stayed. He put me in at Larry Gale while he took his 30-minute truck ride around to where we were staying. I just started idling around, and I was kind of looking for like little spawning pockets or areas leading to a spawning pocket. And I marked a bunch of that kind of stuff and never even made a cast. I went and checked one bank that I knew we were going to start on, and that water was kind of dirty. The whole Niangua was dirty. But I kind of like that in the springtime. It's typically a little warmer, and the fish slide up there, get a little sunlight, I guess, and you can kind of catch them shallow. And if there's any laydowns or anything like that, they seem to be tight to that. So I kind of feel like you can kind of slim things down a little bit and pinpoint them a little easier. So we chose to stay in that dirty water, and it worked out, I guess.
Now you said you've had some bad experiences with practicing in the past.
I've just had.
Did you hook some big ones?
Well, yeah, and I've gone out and caught them pretty good, like on a Friday, and then turn around and fish tournament on Saturday, and you can't catch them. I don't know if my practice regimen is not good enough or don't have all the right ideas, but that's happened to me on several occasions, and so now I don't even mess with it. I just go down there and expand on what I think or know they should be doing or what they are doing. So
I think that's smart, man. I've had that conversation before the times that I've fished it, because I mean, just on this live stream in the past, we've had guys that have come on here that have caught like an 8-pounder in practice, tried to shake it off in 40s, and for whatever reason they couldn't. And I've heard that story. It happens.
I do think that this tournament's a little bit different on that. You're not after 5 big ones. You just need one big bite. So we didn't practice. I think if if it's a different style tournament and you're trying to catch 5, maybe, if you go up, if you want to fish a Niangua, maybe go up in the Grabway or something and find some dirty water there and see if you can maybe duplicate it. But I usually don't even do that.
Yeah, that's smart. So you go out there, you get to your starting spot. How you feeling about things? I mean, you said the water's a little bit dirtier, but you like that. You got a little bit of confidence and things. How do things start out?
Well,
you caught the fish early, right?
Yeah, I think the picture that my brother-in-law took of it was like 6:58 or something like that. So it was right off the bat, first half hour. But it's just, a bank that my brother-in-law and his uncle, they've done pretty well off of that bank. And I don't have a lot of experience in the Niangua, very little actually. But I knew that water was dirtier, possibly slightly warmer, and I liked that. So we stayed in there, and that stretch of bank is just right around the corner from where we were staying. Short boat ride. So we decided that's where we were going to start. And it's like it's a long stretch of bank, but it leads right into a little shallow spawning pocket, and it's got a lot of deep water out front of it. So I figured that areas like that is what I wanted to key in on. And so we just started going down the bank, and my brother-in-law picked up a spinnerbait first, and I picked up the crankbait, just give him something different to look at. And I started playing with different depths. I was up tight to the bank, in a foot or two of water with it, and then I'd move out a little further and be in 4 or 5 foot of water, and a little further out 8 or 10 foot, just trying to see if I could get a bite in one of those sections and then go on from there. And we had just got done talking. I was telling my brother-in-law, I said, this was the 4th year I've fished this, and I've cashed a check all 4 times. And I was just telling him that I'd never cashed a check on a Saturday. It was always on a Sunday after I had looked at the leaderboard for Saturday and saw like a section of the lake, like you were talking earlier, that was better than where I was at. And a few minutes later, I'm like, I get this bite. I'm like, man, that's heavy. But it was really lazy. So I kind of thought, I don't know, man, I'm not confident that's a bass. So I get it up near the boat, and the water's so dirty there, you had 6, 8 inches of visibility. You couldn't see what it was. I just knew it was big. And it made a run like underneath the boat towards the back, and then it got real lazy again, and I just reeled it on up to the top, and she just laid over in the net for us real easy.
Wow.
It was.
So you're thinking it could be a drum or.
Yeah, I told my partner, I'm like, catfish, drum, I'm not, whatever it is, it's big, and I'm not confident it was a bass.
Wow. I know how that is, man. You can't see anything until it's in the net. Well, it's good that it wasn't, that it didn't get all squirrely at the boat, it just kind of came up and played in the net for you.
When she made the run, I let her take some drag, but she didn't go very far. I stood on the front deck, and she made it back to about the engine or so, and then she gave up again. And I brought her right up to the surface, laid over in the net, and my brother-in-law netted her on the back deck. So I still didn't really have like a good view of it. And his eyes were huge, and he laid her in the floor of the boat right here, and we both looked at it like, oh my, that's a giant.
Yeah. That's not a 5-pounder.
No. So
wow.
I think before I even had her off the hook, he had my dad on FaceTime, and so I'm showing him the fish, and we weighed it real quick, and his scale said 7 pounds 14 ounces. So we stuck it in the live well and immediately headed to Red Oak.
Yeah. What'd you say you caught it on? I forgot that part.
This rock crawler and red bug, and I don't know. This was a brand new crankbait that morning. I don't know if you can see that front treble hook. And then the rear, one of them's been out real bad. This one here. So when I took her off the hook, hooks on them. She only had this rear treble in the corner of her mouth. It was brand new, so I can only assume that she maybe had these other two and broke them off on that run. I'll never know, but I think I'm gonna save that one, put it away. I got plenty more.
I will. Yeah, that's like my well, you can't see it, but my PB bass is right here, and I got my PB bluegill, my PB smallmouth, and every one of them has the lure that I caught those fish on. I immediately cut it off, and it did not get thrown in the water again, because you'll lose it. You'll end up losing it.
Yep. So
I
do kind of want to get a replica made, but man, I have zero measurements of that fish. Like, everything happened so fast, and all I've got is pictures, and I can tell you it weighed 8 pounds even. I couldn't tell you how long it was or anything like that. So I'm not savvy with the mounts and all that. I don't know. I'm sure somebody could probably get me something that looks close.
Yeah, they could get you something really close just on general measurements and then try to color match it. But yeah, that's the last thing you're thinking about is, doing all the measurements and stuff. You're just
right.
You're worried about the weight, Yeah. So you took that. You went to Red Elk, waded in. The Josh that was just on here, he had just weighed in, I think, right behind you with that 7.7, and he's the weighmaster said somebody just weighed in an 8 right before you, and so that's crazy that within just an hour that all those fish were weighed in like that.
They must have been. I must have been taking the lie detector test when they weighed in, because they weren't up there when I was taken to do the lie detector test, and then when I came back out, I didn't see them either. We crossed paths with them as we were idling out of Red Oak.
So you took a lie detector test right off the bat?
Immediately. Yep.
How was that? Have you ever taken one of those?
No, I have not, and I was nervous. I think anybody would be, but there's a whole lot going on there. You just dropped an 8-pounder on the scale, and everybody standing there is telling you that there's never been an 8-pounder weighed in this tournament. Then you start thinking, like, I could possibly win this, and then they like, you want to just go ahead and get this lie detector test out of the way? I'm like, sure.
Yeah, I'm already nervous. What's a little more nervous?
Right.
So what'd they ask you? What kind of questions do they typically ask on that test?
Some of the stuff was rules. Some of it was kind of BS. Like, I guess it maybe gives them a baseline to look at. I really don't know. I mean, they asked me, is today Saturday? Are you fishing the Big Bass Bash? Did you weigh the fish the same day you caught it? Did you catch it on artificial bait? Did you catch the fish after 6:30 a.m.? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always wonder, because I've never had to take one either. But yeah, you're probably right. They had, like, are you wearing a blue shirt? Just kind of general questions to get a baseline. Then they start asking you some of the other stuff that really matters.
There was 2 questions.
Yeah, how many fingers am I holding?
Well, they'll tell you, like, I want you to lie to me on these 2 questions, and he'll tell you, I guess that also gives them the baseline too. So.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So you're idling, you weighed that fish in, you're idling out. What's going through your mind?
I don't even know. I guess between weighing it in, through the lie detector test, and then Red Oak that's all no wake. So you got a pretty good little idle out.
That's a long idle. I mean, that's a really long idle.
So at some point it had been put on Facebook already. So my phone was blowing up. I had my mom and dad, I had friends, so I'm not kidding, for 2 hours. We left Red Oak. I took us back to that same stretch of bank. My brother-in-law got up on a trolling motor, and I probably should have just put my phone in the glove box and never looked at it all day. But for 2 hours, I sat in the driver's seat on the phone, text messages. I'd hang up. I'd have 10 text messages. I'd reply to those, and then I'd have another phone call. It was insane.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, chances you catching a bigger than an 8-pounder are probably, next to none.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll ever do it here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but few and far between.
Giant. That's a really big fish.
Yeah.
So did you end up finally settling down and putting the phone away and going back to fishing?
Yeah, but I didn't take it very seriously. I mean,
hard to focus.
Yeah, I mean, I tied a new crankbait on. I started throwing a spinnerbait a little bit, just playing around. I left my brother-in-law up on a troll. My brother-in-law's never cashed a check in this, and he's fished 3 of the 4 with me. So he ran the trolling motor the rest of the day, and I piddled around on the phone, made a few casts. We sat down and ate lunch. We were on a high, and everybody I talked to is like, it's over. You won. I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, that's possible. It's, nobody's ever weighed an 8-pounder in that tournament, but I also kept thinking, it's not over till it's over. And I know that in the last I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, seems like there's been a couple 8-pound fish weighed in or near 8 pounds in various tournaments. So I just thought, the conditions are right. They've been caught leading up to this, and it is possible that somebody beats me, and it happened.
Yeah, and it's that time of year where a 7-pounder turns into an 8-pounder. When she starts putting on the eggs, and they pick up a pound and a quarter, pound and a half.
Right.
So did you know? When did you find out that somebody had caught a bigger fish?
Oh, I don't know what time it was. I'm not even sure if they I'm not sure what time slot they waited in, if it was that last one or the end of the 11 to 1 one. I thought it was somewhere around 1 o'clock or so, but my sister actually texted my brother-in-law, and that's how we figured it out. He looked it up. He's like, no way. And sure enough, they weighed their 828, and that took the wind out of our sails in a hurry.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's just like 3 fish of that caliber,
right? And all 3 of them out of the 9.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm trying to see where yeah, so he caught that the 1 to 3 in the 1 to 3 time slot.
Okay. Yeah.
At Red Oak. Wow. Yeah, because Josh said that he went, the guy that got 3rd place, he went back out and he caught a 4, like a 4.5 or something, and was weighing that fish in. And then that's when Nate came in with his 8.28 or whatever it was, weighed it in. But that's amazing that those fish were caught in the same area, for the most part. And then, that first day. But there were so many big fish caught. I mean, just looking at this, all the way down to 7th place. 7th place was still a 6-pounder.
Yeah.
In that first time slot. And then there was 7th place again on the second time slot. It was above a 6.
Right.
It's crazy. It's a lot of really good fish showing up.
Yep.
That just shows you that, it's such a healthy fishery. There's times when you hear people grumbling because they can't catch, good quality fish, but they're in there.
I mean, I'm no professional biologist or anything like that, but I don't think that lake's hurting at all. I mean, it gets tough at times, but I mean, it was tough all winter long. I stay on the lower end of that lake 99% of the time. I do venture up above hurricane deck a little bit in the springtime, but it was tough all winter long. And then you have that giant shad kill, and that doesn't help it. And, I haven't been doing this as long as a lot of people, but in my little bit of experience, it seems to me like when you have that big shad kill like that, it's almost good for the place. And it gets really, really tough. And then it almost stays tough until now. So, and I think that, I don't know. I kind of think that helps the lake.
Yeah, because it's not like it killed all the shad.
Right.
It just knocked them back a little bit.
Right.
And those fish are feeding up. Those fish are still eating those shad. That's why you're not catching them, because they're not going to chase your baits. They got unlimited buffet of wounded shad. So they're putting the feed bag on for sure. Stephanie's got a question. She said, did you guys split the money you won, or who caught the fish keeps it?
We split it. We always split everything. And this particular tournament, there's a little more money to be won. And we've always agreed that no matter what, we were going to split it. So that's what we did.
Yep. I'm the same way. When I fished a couple times, and that was always something we agreed before we go into it. We're just going to split it.
Yeah. And he most of the time, I got the boat and the maintenance and all that. So most of the time he pulls it with his truck, his fuel, take my boat, my fuel. And we do everything we can to split it 50-50. And we've always done it that way. It's expensive, man. For one person to do this, I mean, it's, for me, you know, it's 2.5 hours away from the lake. So I got a lot of fuel in the truck and then fuel in the boat. And then you get into entry fees. I mean, it adds up quick.
It does. Fishing can be very expensive. So you got to, I don't know. I try to think of it as like a vacation type of mindset. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
ideally you want to make your money back or at least get your entry fee back, but
Right.
sometimes it doesn't happen. And if it doesn't, well, it's just like going to, you know, Montauk for the weekend or something, you know, just having a little vacation away from the house.
Right.
It helps me anyway. It still hurts, but
yeah. Right. Yeah. I try and look at it as you make your money back. That's good. And I'd like, you know, I told you I've fished it 4 times. I've made money every time, but one of those times was I might have been last or real close to last, and it was the $190 or whatever it was, but it was the entry fee then. And I'm like, at that point,
right.
You know, I made my entry fee money back. I still have all the money in the fuel and all that stuff, but I'm going to spend that money no matter what if I'm coming down here for fun or not. So I try and look at it, you know, like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's the way to look at it. Definitely. And it's something you enjoy, you know, it's something you like to do. So if you like to do it, you're going to have to spend money to have fun. Sometimes that's just the way it is.
That's right.
Pickwick Pirate says it's about to be a lot more expensive. Just seeing where the price of Steez rods will go up to over $200 June 1st. Steez rods. Well, you know, for that tournament, talking about bang for the buck or price of the tournament, it really is one of the best bangs for the buck because you've got like, what was it, like 40 something?
Let's see, it's 45.
Yeah, 45 exactly. Times there's 4 a day, and you got 2 days.
Right.
That's a lot. That's a lot of opportunity to win your entry fee back.
Right.
You know? Most tournaments, it's not that generous. And they do. The Terrell family's always done a great job running that tournament.
Yep.
It's top notch deal down there. So what do you got any plans for the money?
Well, I've just put a new trolling motor on this boat, so it's some of that money is going to go back in the bank account. And I don't know. I've done a little changing up, rigging this boat. I figure I'm gonna have it for a while, so I want to. It needed a few updates, and so I've spent some money on that, and most of it's just going to go back in the bank account and replenish what I spent.
What kind of trolling motor did you get?
I bought the Minn Kota Quest.
Nice. Yeah. Have you had it out in the water yet?
Yeah, I put it on.
Or is it
3 weeks ago, I guess. I had it for the bash. I like it a lot. I had a Fortrex with no spot lock. But everybody's always, you know, you got to get that spot lock. I didn't know any better, you know. If I broke off, I just face the boat into the wind and stay on the trolling motor while I retied. But that thing was getting pretty wore out. It was creaking and popping and making all kinds of noise. And I took it all apart, put bushings in it, and that didn't fix anything. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna put a new one on, and I really like this one. It's a beast.
It's the best decision you'll ever make once you get that spot lock. It is.
It's great. I'm like, I never knew any better, and I'm like, I don't need that. And now that I got it, I'm like, this is awesome. When we sat down, had lunch Saturday. I just faced the boat into the wind, turned the spot lock on, and both of us sat here and made sandwiches.
Yep. I know you're like, it's so much money, but then when you get it, you're like, I wish I would have got this like 2 years ago. It's awesome.
I know.
Yeah, it's a must have. Well, cool. We got Nate in the queue down there, so I'm going to bring him in just a second. Thanks for coming on here and sharing your story. Congratulations. And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good luck the rest of the year. You fishing any more derbies, or are you just the Big Bass Bash guy and that's it?
Yeah, we dabble in some other stuff. A group of people from St. Louis area. He has a handful of them all year, so we get in them. And I usually try and fish the Mary's Memorial that Anglers in Action puts on there in Thanksgiving time. And
Mm-hmm.
I just I get in what I feel like getting in, and the rest of the time we go fishing for fun. So
that's the way to do it. I might see you down there. Sometimes I fish that Maria Memorial. Just depends on
Yeah.
how my schedule laid out. I like that tournament.
Yeah,
for a good cause.
I've only fished it twice, but this past year it kind of threw me off because it's always that weekend right after Thanksgiving, and I think they had it the weekend before Thanksgiving this past year. There's something, I don't know what happened, but there was a change in dates, and they had said that it was just going to be for this year only. So I'm sure I'll be back there this coming year for that. I really enjoy that one too.
Yeah, that's kind of a hybrid. It's got, the best 5, and then it's got a big bass bracket as well.
Yeah.
So you got 2 chances of, winning or doing good.
Yep, that's for a good cause, and you can fish against some of the best guys on the lake too. That's always challenging.
Yeah, you've done something if you cash a check in that one for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Appreciate it. Have a great evening, and good luck.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Bye. All right. Good stuff, man. Another good story. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. I can imagine catching an 8-pounder. I've caught an 8-pounder in a long, long time. So to catch it in a tournament and that boat ride, knowing you got an 8-pounder in the live well, it's impressive. But let's bring in the guy that's caught another 8-pounder that beat out the 8-pounder we were just on here talking to. Nate, you good? Give me a thumbs up. All right, what's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking some time out of your evening. Did you get the kids to bed?
Yep, almost, but I should be heading away at least.
Yeah, no, and then you'll just be able to just chill and relax. It's like down here where I'm at. My kids are older, but it's like my little place that I go down, like just to kind of have my chill time in the evening. I do the editing and stuff down here, but I try to it's like the last thing I do in the evening most of the time. I get to come down here and just kind of chill and just relax and do whatever I want. Most of the time I'm editing videos, but sometimes I'll end up watching Netflix or something. But it's my little mini man cave, I guess you could say.
It's the only quiet time we get after everyone goes to bed.
So are you from you're not from Lake of the Ozarks area, are you?
Nope, I'm from Fremont, Nebraska. So about a 6-hour drive north.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your experience with Lake of the Ozarks?
I went when I was like 11 or 13, just kind of vacationing as a young one, and that's kind of where I remember it, from being as a kid. And then my buddy kind of got me into bass tournament fishing 4 or 5 years ago. Then in the fall of 22, I decided to buy a boat and come on down. And really, I've only fished the lake about maybe 9 times. One extra time besides the 8 batches I've been in. So I don't have a ton of experience down there. So it's been a learning curve.
I like the little flex underneath your name there, 2025 Spring Big Bass Champion.
Yeah.
Hey, you earned it, man. Mark wants to know, how many times have you fished the bash?
That was my 8th time. Yep.
Okay.
I started in fall 22, and I've hit so that's my 6th time, I guess, at the Ozarks, and I fished it twice at the Grand Lake. So.
Oh yeah, right.
So I started in 22, and I've been.
You got like a buddy?
Yeah. So my buddy Justin, he comes to me with me most of the time. He didn't come with me the first bash, but he's been with me to every Ozarks bash since. And I usually go to the Grand Lake one by myself. Just make a quick jog down. But,
yeah. The first place was 100 grand. Second place was 20, and then third, I think 10.
10. Yep. And there was a 4th place $5,000 payout too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like we talked about earlier, there's 45 time slots, and there's four 44 payouts per time slot, and there's 4
Mhm.
time slots per day,
Mhm.
and there's 2 days, so there's 8 time slots, 45 times 8, whatever that is. I haven't been in
Yeah.
school for a while. I can't do that, but it's a lot,
Which,
you know.
yeah,
So
which is cool because like when we won, like Cale and I each won our time slot, so that's an extra $1,500 on top of the grand
yeah,
prize
that's
money.
right. That's sweet. And then they do like if you buy a T-shirt and you're tied
Yep.
for, or you're like 46 spot
One of
and
my
you
old
bought a
ones
T-shirt.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What is it,
And
like
for like
$500 or something?
yeah, well, it's I think it pays like $250, something, maybe it's 500. I don't remember exactly what it is, but the best part is they're so comfortable. I have them, and I wear them all the time just because of how comfortable they are.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not like that real stiff cotton. They're actually some like
Quality shirts.
microfiber. I don't know what they are, fleece or something. Not fleece, but they're comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable.
Polyester. I think that's what I was looking for.
Yes, but yeah, it's a great, like I heard a little bit of the talking to Cale, and yeah, they really put on a great tournament that pays out really well to the amateur fishermen, which is great.
Yeah, and then they do a boat giveaway, and then
yeah,
if you weigh like there's a couple of different exact fish weights. I think like Justin Swass, he pays like 316. If you weigh one that weighs 316, he pays a certain amount, and then I think there's like a 3 pound flat or 4 pound flat or something.
Yep. And this year they had the Pirelli tires. We got a 373, I think, on each day or something like that. And so they really make it fun. Yeah, I mean, they really give you opportunity, especially with the 3 pound. You know, it's an opportunity to catch a little bit smaller of a fish and still be able to get paid. Because it can get kind of intimidating knowing you always have to have a 4 pound fish to cash a check. So it's a little bit additional. It's fun.
Yeah, and then they got like they got a women's tournament too. And I don't do they have a kids too? They used to have kids.
Yes, absolutely. They have a kids division, and they one of the I wish I could remember offhand the sponsor, but they give out a whole bunch of toys off a raffle, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Next year's the goal to get my son to come down and fish it with me, and hopefully do some of the kids stuff because it's really cool too. Because they really pay out on like crappie and catfish and bass for the kids and everything, and it's a lot cheaper. And the great thing too is you don't have to actually be in the tournament to help the kids out. And so you could, if you have a neighbor kid, you could take a couple kids out on your boat and they could join it and you could help it, and it's really a lot of fun. The kids love it.
That's cool. Yeah. It makes it more of a family event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Stephanie says, is there a limit on how many time slots you can weigh in? I think it's
just one time per slot.
One time per,
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you could technically get 8 checks. I mean, if you're on fire.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're smart about it, you can have 2 fish in the live wells. If you go in with a couple 5-pounders or something, you could right at the right time, you could weigh at the end of one at the beginning of another. And I mean, there's some strategy to it as well. My buddy actually had a 3-poundish, something like that, a little bit over 3-pound fish in the live well when we caught the winning fish, and he quietly let it go before while we was doing my polygraph. I think he didn't want anybody to see it in the live well with it, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, so I mean, it's just something you can throw one in there and then call it later, or keep it in case the weights aren't showing up.
Yeah, because they have, if I remember right, they broadcast real time, like on a certain radio station. So you can, if you've got, like you said, if you've got a 396 and you're like, I don't know what that 45th place fish is, and you come in with like 5 minutes left, and that fish is not going to get you anything, then you just hold on to it. Or if it is going to get you anything, you run up there and weigh it in real quick. There's
absolutely
a strategy.
Yep. Absolutely.
Or you could just catch an 8.28. You don't have to worry about it.
That's really what the only strategy I have going for me right now. It's the first time I've cashed a check. So, I mean, I was really like, that was my big goal, is to finally cash a check this time. And, I mean, that's the check to cash if I'm going to cash it, I guess.
That's how you cash a check.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't be happier and more fortunate and thankful that it happened. Yeah, it was, it's crazy that, knowing going in that you have to catch your personal best in order to win, money basically at this tournament, because in Nebraska, 5 pounds is a really big bass. And, 5 pounds is about what it takes to pay, 4 pounds. But I knew to make a serious check, some money, I was going to have a a 5 pound, 6 pound fish, which is, personal best. And never in a million years did I imagine that the one I caught would be 8.28. And when you're watching that reaction video, half of what you're seeing is me realizing I just caught an 8 pound bass. Wow, that's crazy to me. And then it starts sinking in the reality of what that actually means given the situation and what's going on.
I'd say like 90% of the people that fish an 8 pound bass is a huge bass. I mean, I'm sure everybody that's on here watching this, I'd say that's, unless you live in like Texas or Florida or California, even Oklahoma, where we're at. I'm in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, but I live really close to Southern Illinois. I do a lot of fishing over there, and you just don't. There's a lot of good bodies of water over there. You don't run across a lot of 8 pound fish. You get some 6s. It's not uncommon to catch a 6.5 to 7. I catch several of those a year, but when you get over that 7 pound range, they're tougher to catch. So that's an accomplishment, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I've heard that from a few people, talking down there, like, that I haven't caught an 8 pounder here, and that it kind of it means something because coming from up here, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage somewhat, not having any practice down there. And so to hear people who live on the water, not say they've never caught one that big, it really kind of, emphasizes, the accomplishment.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about your or when did you get to the lake, or did you have a chance to practice, or how'd that go down?
Yeah. We got there. We left late Thursday night, got there early Friday morning. We put in a PB2 and kind of fished around there a little bit until we went to the hospitality tent, grabbed our goodie bag and stuff like that, and our free hot dog from Bass and Bob, and we loaded up and we headed down to I always forget, it's the westernmost public ramp we could find on the lake, Lee something. I should probably remember this, but we went there and put it in, and we fished probably right up until 6:55 is when I put my pole in the back of the boat, because we could fish till 7, and I didn't want to risk being anywhere off the past the time. So I put my pole down at 6:55, and we put away, and we went back to the dock or the ramp, and we just started the generator and hung out at the ramp overnight until it was time to put in the next morning. And I think we got put in probably about 5 o'clock.
How was the fishing in Friday? Like, did you feel like you were catching some fish and had an idea of what you were going to do the next day?
I kind of. I knew I didn't want to go too far back into the coves based on where we were catching them. It wasn't very deep, but I hadn't quite figured out the depth they were at yet. But I was able to kind of figure out they weren't very shallow yet. That's what I kind of was able to figure out on Friday. What was shallow was smaller. We didn't catch anything bigger that was shallow. The only thing of sizes we were catching was deeper off of docks. Saturday is really when I was able to really get a good pattern going, figuring out that they were always on the channel side of the bay or whatever we were in, or cove, whatever cove we were in, they were always on the channel side. And then that's when I was able to figure out they weren't really ever deeper than 14 feet. Once we got shallower than 14 feet of water into the boat, we just weren't catching anything. And so then we just weren't having the kind of luck I was looking for in the coves. And so that's why when we kind of were moving, we moved, I guess I always get the terminology wrong. We went from probably about the 2 mile marker down to about the 3.5 mile marker on the Niagara arm, and found a very shallow cove that we fished into, and we started going down the cliff face. And I picked it because it had the channel swing was over there, and we're just kind of fishing along that, because the one thing we hadn't done yet on Saturday was fish cliff face. We kind of tried about everything else around there, docks and points and stuff, and just hadn't had much luck yet. So we're just kind of fishing along the cliff there, just tossing.
So it's like a river channel bluff type swing area.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're just fishing down the wall, and it kind of turns a little bit, And I admittedly not the best with directions, and I always remember, biggest thing I always remember is, your long runs or your channels or whatever, or on a lake runs east-west. And so I thought I was on the east-west line, and so I thought I was on a south-facing wall when I had turned into a south-facing wall. And so I got excited thinking that, oh man, the sun's just been beating down on this thing for, a while. It's got to be good and warm. And I could just see balls of shad everywhere on my screen. And so I knew there was bait around, and I was, the lure I was using, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's this contraption of a chatterbait underspin with the panorama 360 on it.
Yeah, that's original, dude. I've never seen that.
Yeah. And so that falling down, it has a good action, but it just kind of wiggles on down, and falling that down the ledge, it just all of a sudden, you're falling it down, and your line will stop falling eventually, right? And so then you're pulling it up to bring it down back some and fall further. And one of those times I went to bring it up, my pole just went whoop. And when it went like that, I told my friend Justin, I was like, I'm on something. He's like, what? I'm like, I don't know yet. And then that's when my line started taking off. I'm like, I don't know. I got on a fish at least.
You thought you were hung, maybe? Like,
yeah. Because honestly, the reason this thing looks atrocious, and the big reason I was throwing it is because the way that you fish it, you're gonna get snagged. Like it's gonna get caught on a rock or something, and you just lose those. I didn't want to lose a new one, so I was throwing some junk because an 8-pound bass has been caught in the bash, and no one's gonna beat that all day. That's the mentality I had at this point, right? Like I'm just fishing.
So you were aware of the 8-pounder already being caught?
Oh, absolutely. This was me trying to just catch a check.
Okay.
I was just fishing this thing to try and catch a big enough fish to catch a check, because I had gone from I'm done trying to find the fish, hoping to catch a bigger fish while I'm finding them, to I just want to catch a bigger fish now. And so that's why I started catching my big fish. It's one of my big fish baits. When I kept throwing that, I generally catch 3+ pound fish, and quite a few 4s and 2 5s, which up in Nebraska is pretty good. So I was just throwing it down.
That's a bait you've caught a lot of. You got a lot of confidence in that bait.
Oh, absolutely! It's one of my confidence baits for sure. I use that when I'm not having much luck with anything else. I shared a meme earlier today. It says I have all this stuff in my tackle box, and I don't know why. I know I'm only going to throw 2 baits anyways, and that's one of the 2 baits I'm probably going to end up throwing. Yeah. As much as I wish that, like that. Yeah, I spent a portion of money on a pole for glide baits and Alabama rigs, which don't really get used up here much. But I'm like, I fish the Ozarks. There's always people throwing them down there, and I think I've caught 1 fish with probably worth a pound on that thing since I've owned it, and it's just I can't figure it out. And by the time I get so frustrated, I start throwing this thing again, because at least I'll catch something. But yeah, once it started running, I knew I had a fish. I just and it's kind of funny listening to Cale. Our experiences were very similar. Like it was kind of just a dead feel, and then it took off running. And then once I tightened my drag a little bit, it was kind of like a dead reel. It just kind of didn't really fight much. Brought it right up to the top. And my buddy was like, "Do you need a net?" I said, "I don't know yet," because I assume it's a catfish or more likely a drum, because those things have broken my heart before during the bash. And
yeah.
I mean, they look so similar until you get like that. You see that flash of silver, and you're like, oh. But and that thing actually looked, that bass, it was so big, it kind of almost looks football-y, more like the drum does in a bass, And so at first glance, I'm like, no way. My buddy was just freaking out. He's like, oh shoot. I'm like, oh yeah, net. And so and honestly, it didn't jump or anything like that. It was pretty uneventful getting into the net. But once it was in the net and in the boat, I usually lip them like this, but I went like it was a 40-pound catfish with like this onto that lip. And it came from, I got the hook out, it went from the net into the live well, and we started the engine and headed towards, Red Oak. I was not going to weigh this fish and have it flop off my scale into the water. I knew I was getting paid. I didn't know how much. Justin apparently knew how much. I had no clue how much I was going to get paid. I just knew.
I just knew it was a freaking giant.
I knew it was a giant. I'd never seen a bass this big, so I knew it was worth some money because I knew it was over 5 at least. And that's where, like, I'm just in the, like, my focus is on get to the weigh station, right? Once it's in the well. And so we take off. And then once, it's been that ride from the buoys to Red Oaks, a little bit there. And that's where I finally kind of was able to start, like, thinking about what I had just caught. And I tell my buddy, I asked Justin, I was like, what do I have here? He's like, I think you got it. I'm like, no, really? He's like, well, I guess if you made me think about it or say something, if you go between 7 and 9 pounds, I'd say a little bit closer to 7. And then that's where I start thinking, I'm like, yeah, I guess it did kind of weigh like a gallon of milk, putting it in there. And I'm like, all right, well, that's about 8 pounds. So, all right, this will be fun. This will be interesting. And that's when I called my wife and I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to weigh something. And she's like, really? Yay. And I'm like, I'll let you know how much it weighs once we get there. And then when we got there and I actually went onto the dock and Justin was in the boat and he put it in the bag for me. But when he pulled it out of the live well, the reaction from people around there kind of was like, okay, something's going on here. It was like, everybody was like, holy shit, shoot, what's going on? That's a huge fish.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then, I was carrying it up.
Was that really the first time you got a really good look at it too? I mean,
yeah, I think the first time I really got to look at it is when it was in the tub. And that's when it kind of struck me to how big it was. Like, because it was just focused. Like, my focus was getting that thing to the weigh station. Like, from the moment it got into the boat, it was just to the weigh station. Like, you probably watch, my buddy has a video, and you can just see I get a very determined walk. I'm walking up. I've got the bag. I'm two-fisting it, and I think people at first I think were like, man, look at this guy two-fisting it, and then they kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And then it was like pandemonium, and I kind of liken it to like when you go into ER and the doctors are scrambling and nurses around you. You see those shows, and that's what it kind of looked like around. Like everybody's all of a sudden trying to figure out. There was a guy who would just wait, and it was like almost kind of like, shoot, we need you to move. We need you out of here now. And it was just chaos. And I guess didn't realize what was going on, but everybody was like, holy crap, this is crazy, big fish. And then when it went onto the scale and it went over 8 and started settling down, that's when I was just like, holy moly, I did it. I caught the biggest fish in my life. And then, like I said earlier, that's when it really sunk in. Like, that means you're in first. And then I looked over, my friend's freaking out, and it takes me over the edge. And it's crazy, like, to think that some watching me win $100,000. And they look back and watch it. And it's crazy to think that still hasn't 100% sunk in, but it's a bit more now.
Yeah, so you're thinking it's hard to tell how big a fish is. Like you said, it's a big fish, but is it 7 or is it 8.5? Like, because unless you catch a lot of fish that caliber,
absolutely,
it's hard to tell. I mean, we can tell what like a 3.5 pounder is, maybe.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
But like a 6-7 pounder, you don't run across those that much, so it's kind of hard to tell. But so in your head, you're like, it's got to be 7. But then when you saw it pump 8 and started walking above 8, you're like, are you serious?
Yeah, well, I guess, once I reflected and thought the milk jug, I thought, okay, yeah, it's over 7. But at first looking at it, I'm thinking 6.5, maybe 7, but 6.5 more likely, just because it was huge. But it's been a while since I've seen a 5 pounder now. Last year, it's midterm. I don't catch a lot of them up here. And so I haven't seen a ton, but like, just looking back, that thing was just massive. Like,
and they're dense right now. Like they weigh more than what you think they do.
Yeah, like it was just huge. The size, it looks almost as tall as it does long. Like, just seeing it in that tub, I watched the video here and there, just trying to I did not get a chance to really appreciate the fish. Like, it all happened so fast, and I was just like, I wanted to, and then after it weighed, it was immediately to the polygraph. Like, I never really got a chance, other than that one photo, to really appreciate the fish I had just caught, which is kind of sad. But I'm gonna get a replica of it. So That'll be nice. But yeah, seeing that 8 pounds was just otherworldly, and then just in the the $100,000 tournament to catch it there and everything, it's just unreal.
Yeah, so that makes it even interesting. You're like you said, it's it's noon. Somebody's already weighed in an 8-pounder, which is a giant. Somebody's weighed in. Josh that was on here had a 7.7, which is another. There's a bunch of 6-pounders weighed in, and you're
I've
like,
never cast a check.
I just hope I can make my entry fee back. I just hope I can. I hope I can halfway get break it even. And
I want to be able to
next thing
explain to my wife why I want to keep doing this. Why do I keep doing it? But earlier I heard you guys kind of talk about the vacation aspect, which is totally how I've looked at this. It's like I have to go south to catch those caliber of fish, right? And so if I'm going to make 3 trips a year, why I do it on the weekends where if I go to the casino, I'll never have a chance. $200 will last me an hour at best at the casino most nights. But 3 times a year, $200 or $600 for the 3 times buys me 18 hours of a chance to win $100,000, and it actually finally happened.
It's a great deal.
It is a great deal. Like you can't beat that price. That's a heck of an entry fee. It's like $10 an hour to win $100,000, and I want to go fishing anyways.
Yeah, it's like a no-brainer, really. I mean,
absolutely.
It makes total sense.
I just schedule all my fishing trips around the batches. I'll probably try and make some extra ones now down south. My fishing buddy, he's going down to Arkansas to some lake that's been producing some good bass right now. So
yeah, I'm gonna bring my buddy JB in. He's
absolutely.
He's gonna come in here. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys?
Hey,
it's been a whirlwind of a night. I coach baseball, so just so you know, that's why I wasn't here. But it's been
good luck tonight.
We just had practice. We're preparing for a tournament this weekend, but we'll see how we do this weekend. Hopefully they get everything goes right. Let's just put it that way. So, plus I got work stuff that I'm trying to catch up on, and then Gabe knows this, but the road construction in Cape Girardeau right now is ridiculous. Like every route to get to my house is closed.
Oh, is that because of the river or what?
No, so 177 they just resurfaced, which is the highway that runs by my house.
Okay, gotcha.
Cape Rock's closed, Perryville's closed, Lexington's closed, and all 3 of those are routes to my house from town. So
I didn't realize that 177 was closed. I knew they were doing some stuff on.
It's back. We're back open now, but that's the least of my concerns at that point. Like, but to get to town is like 25 minutes for me anyway. Last week I got caught in 2 different work zones while they're resurfacing it, and it was 45 minutes for me to get to town. Which is, I know I'm complaining about first world problems.
Aren't we all?
We have, but congratulations, Nate. I mean,
thank you, appreciate it.
Heck of a fish.
Yeah, that's still like I said, it's unbelievable, and it's a fish of a lifetime for me right now. And
$100,000 and a free T-shirt. I love it.
Yes, I love this shirt. These shirts. We were just talking about how comfy these shirts are. I wear them all the time.
Awesome. Good night, buddy.
That bait too. Did you see the bait he caught him on, JB?
Yeah,
I did not.
Check us out. This is going to be a hot selling bait.
So it's
what in the Sam world is that?
It's a bladed jig with an underspin and a panoramic.
We have the panorama.
Is that something that you came up with?
Well, I mean, I threw it together. I didn't come up with this. This was made by the head's made by Fish Head. Like a primal rage or something like primal vibe, I think.
Does it come with the underspin and the chatterbait head?
Yeah, and a skirt actually, but I think it works better without the skirt because the profile is more prevalent.
Okay.
But the chatter it shakes the tail on this really just perfectly.
Oh, I can imagine so.
And so I think a lot of people have figured out that the panorama works well with the chatterbait, but having the underspin just really throws it off. It works. It looks, coming at it, it looks almost like a school of fish. You got the top little shiner, the little bottom shiner, and you got the bigger one. So they always go for the big one. It seems to and it's worked really well for me.
Well, if it's an 8-pounder, it really doesn't matter if he goes for the big one, the little one, or the other little
yeah,
one.
that's very true.
You're good.
Yeah,
on all accounts.
Yeah, but no, it works really well, especially that combination works really well at like Grand Lake and Lake of the Ozarks.
I guarantee Curtis has already ordered like 5 of them. I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah.
What size panorama is that?
It's a 3 inch or 3.5. I'd have to look again.
That looks so much bigger than that on there.
Yeah, I'm not. I have to measure it again. I believe it's a 3.5 or whatever. Maybe 4. Oh no, it's a 4. Yeah, that's right. We looked it up. It's a 4 inch. It's a 4-inch panorama. But you can really use. This is about the smallest you want to go, just because of the needle or the hook. Well, kind of, if it's too much thinner, it really tears it up. But super glue is your friend. It really helps keep this thing, make the bait last a lot longer. But the bigger ones, they don't wiggle as fast when you're fishing them. That takes up some more of the vibrations. But this one really here really looks good when it's falling as well. It has enough wiggle with the head and everything, and then you can pull it fast. When I caught this one, I was just dropping it down the ledge, so I would, pull it up and let it fall until it stopped going down. Reel up, pull it, let it until it started going down. And one of the times when I went to pop it, was when my line just went, and I assumed I was snagged, was on something, and then my line took off, and kind of the rest is history.
So you're fishing like a spoon, kind of, somewhat.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I've heard that someone else describe it that way. But yeah, it's basically spooning it down the ledge, just hoping that something was sitting there. How many times I've been to Bass Pro and looked in those tanks, and there's these big bass just dumbly staring at the wall, and I was like, there's got to be something along this wall somewhere, right? And maybe one of these times I'll go by it, and lucky enough, I found the one that was staring at the wall, I think.
You may have already said this, Nate, but was that a PB as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Coming from Nebraska, my PB previously was 5 pounds, a little over 5 pounds. Okay. Which is a master angler here. And so I've caught a few of those here. Like 3 here now. 2 of them on this bait or a variation of it. It works really well, that one, black and so like I said, it comes on a skirt. And so I really like that too, with the black and blue trailer, crawl type trailer. It works really well. And it's very versatile. So you can jig it. You can run it like a jig off the bottom in that one. It works really well. Gets good action coming off of docks and stuff too. But that's by far probably the more successful one with the bait or the fish profile. Probably works the best on that type of bait.
That's an underutilized way of fishing a bladed jig too. Is kind of stroking it off the bottom. I was talking to a guy a couple years ago, and he caught him really good on a strip pit lake on a chatterbait, and that's how he was fishing it. He was letting it fall to the bottom and just kind of popping it up and letting it fall to the bottom. They don't see that all that often.
Well, yeah, no, and I mean it's the good. I like to find baits that you can use more than one way. So if the conditions change a little bit, or you go from a cover to an open area, you don't have to tie something else on. You can go from popping it off the bottom to quick retrieve through grass or something like that. And it's the bait. They don't know. I think when you're just popping it slowly off the bottom, they don't really see the jig or what do you call it? The blade. They don't really see that. They're just seeing the meat of the profile of the bait more. So it maybe works with the jig, and then if you want to, you can pop it real fast and make it vibrate. So it's a very versatile bait.
Yeah, that's true, because like you said, it's got, even if nothing's vibrating or flashing, it still looks like a big minnow or a big shad there. And then if the blade's not really doing that, you still got the spinner blade making flash. And then if you really get after it, it's like all 3 things happening at once. So you're right. It's a very versatile bait. I'm definitely gonna have to pick some up.
Yeah, I love it.
Just what I need, more tackle in my box.
Exactly.
I was thinking about that this weekend I fished in the rain on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday You were there after it rained, I think, on Saturday, Gabe. At least I saw your
Mhm.
truck in the parking lot. But
Yeah.
it was a toad strangler like twice where you couldn't see 40 yards in front of you. And as I was cleaning out the boat and dumping all the 40 gallons of water that was still in the boat after I got back, it was like, I need to take like half of this crap out of this boat and downsize.
Mm.
So,
Oh, I know. My boat would probably run 2 miles an hour faster.
Oh,
sure,
absolutely.
If I got rid of it. I bet I've got 100 and something pounds of plastic in. We got John boats, Nate. We fishing like 16-foot John boats. So, like 100 pounds of plastic in a John boat will take a mile an hour off your top end for sure.
Well, my problem is I'll buy something, I'll throw it in there, and I was like, oh, I need to grab this. And I'm looking at what you can't see over here is a stack of Plano bins and storage bins full of soft plastics. It's a little mini Bass Pro over there. But like I'll grab 4 or 5 of those because I think I'm not like I don't need them, or I need something in the boat, and then you open it up and you got 4 bags of the same thing that you don't need, and rightfully so when they're biting it, but when it's in a John boat, you don't need that much.
Yeah, every time I look at something I want to clean out, I'm like, there's a one very specific situation I'm going to need this, and if it's not in there, I'm going to be very mad I took it out. And so I think that's how I slowly accumulate so much, because I know like I'll remember taking it out and then I'll be mad it's gone. In that one instance, I'm not catching fish, and that's why I bought that particular bait.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that pink beetle spin that you just leave in there for that special occasion. And
exactly
when the fish are schooling on small bait, you're like, oh, I got that beetle spin in there somewhere. And well, then you took it out and you don't have it anymore.
See, for me, it's the crappie stuff. Like
the crappie stuff, yeah.
I'll find 2 or 3 weeks ago they were schooled up like big time on the edge of grass lines, and you'd see them on forward facing. And I had one like crappie jig that had a half a trailer left on it, or half of a bait left on it. And I tied it on, and like 3 casts, I lost the bait, so I was out of crappie jigs. And I was like, I could just wreck them on today, but I don't have anything to throw on. So
you have those crappie baits, because not only can it help you pattern the bass, you can always maybe catch a crappie or 2 to take home for dinner in the process.
I hate to say it, a lot of my forward facing baits now are like 3.5-inch minnow baits, and let me tell you, you can catch a ton of good crappie on those.
Absolutely. I caught a decent crappie on a 3-inch whale Friday, trying to pattern them out. I love that. I mean, that's basically I had moved about 11:30. I had moved from the smaller baits, trying to pattern and hoping to catch a bigger fish in the process, and I was using the 3-inch whale, and that's when I transitioned over to this one, because I was like, all right, well, I know where they're not, so let's go hopefully catch a big one where I think they should be.
Were you getting a lot of? How was your fishing that morning? Were you catching some fish?
No, I had two fish for 9 pounds on the weekend. Just happened to catch the right one, which is what that tournament's all about. Friday I did okay. I really owe a lot of credit to my friend Justin for being able to pattern them out, because he was really catching them in numbers, but I was able to pay attention to where he was catching them. He was having good luck jigging off of docks. That's where he really had his luck. But then I was able to luckily move into the deeper waters, is where I eventually had my luck with the bigger fish.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, why not just save it all for the right fish? A lot of times it's good that you're not catching a bunch of small fish, because it'll keep you doing something that you don't really need to be doing. I mean, I have that problem. You okay, if I catch 50-pound-and-a-half fish or 2-pound fish, one of them is going to be eventually I'm going to catch like a 5-pounder. But a lot of times it doesn't work like that.
No, that's why I finally had to give up on the small one, on the small baits, and go to the bigger one, because I was like, all right, well, if I'm gonna catch fish, I want it to be worth some money, I hope, at least. And I never again imagined it was going to be that fish for that money, but thank God it was.
That's pretty sweet, man. That's amazing. What was the water clarity like? Was it muddy up there? Was it pretty clear?
Oh yeah, it was dirty. It was maybe 8 to 12 inches at best clarity.
Okay.
And like I said, the first flash we got of the fish was just a big pan of silver of the side, and it looked more like a drum from the side, and it was a little bit lighter, I think, than a lot of the bass you see. A lot of times it'll be a little bit darker color, and so I think that threw me off the first flash I saw. But then once we saw the mouth, that's when we realized what was going on, and kind of went into let's get this in the boat mode.
Yeah, everything in that dirty water gets like that really white color. They just everything. So you can't really tell what you got hooked until you get it in the net.
Yeah, I'll bet she lived down there in 12 to 14 feet of water her whole life, barely ever comes up any higher. And
they spawn on bluffs too. I mean,
absolutely.
They don't have to go back in a cove. They'll spawn right.
Absolutely. I'll bet she just moves probably within 10 foot up and down that. She probably doesn't go anywhere and just gorges on those shads. They get blown in every time you get a westerly wind.
Mm-hmm. Here comes this weird looking chatterbait underspin panoramic thing. She's like, I've never seen that before. I'm going to check that out.
That thing should not exist. I don't like it. I'm going to eat it and make it not exist.
Yeah.
I feel like that sounds. They react. I've seen. I caught a 5-pounder on. It was a blue version with the crawler, but the way it came at that thing, it was like it was angry. It was in existence and did not want it in nature anymore. I mean, dang near jumped out of the water at the boat to get it. It was quite cool. That's what finally convinced me that this bait was worth something. Was watching that 5-pound fish dang near jump out of the water for it.
Yeah, that fish is like, I'm going to do my duty to nature and rid this universe of this ugly looking thing that doesn't need to be alive at all costs.
Yep, it feels that's the way they sometimes act around it. Thankfully.
Well, we're going to give away a $25 Baitworks gift card. And
you gonna make it easy on me tonight, or are you gonna make me go cross-eyed?
We're gonna make it easy, man. We're gonna make it easy.
I love you for that, brother.
I'm gonna get rid of this, and let me add it up here. Okay, there you go. Hashtag capital B, capital B, capital B for Big Bass Bash. If you want to get involved in the $25 Baitworks gift card giveaway, just leave the hashtag BBB in the comment section. We'll let that run for a couple minutes, and then we will draw that. So what else is going on this year, Nate? Do you do any other tournaments, or is it just the Big Bass Bash?
Pretty much the Big Bass Bash is all I'm doing. I got invited down to the Pro-Am in November. So I'll be doing that. It's a golf fishing tournament. So
heck yeah, I'm jealous.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I came back up on Saturday or Friday. Got invited to do a show in the studio there, a radio studio there in at the Ozarks, and they said I could do over the phone, but it really felt like something. I was like, hey, you know what? That'd be really cool just to experience being in a radio studio. And I was like, I knew that I would probably get to talk to them longer, have a more natural conversation, and in person. And I'm glad I went, because talking to Bass and Bob and them, they had mentioned about it, and they started talking about it, and I was like, they're like, oh, you should do it, and like, it's an invitational and all this, you should do it. And I'm like, that'd be cool if I got invited. I didn't even click in my brain that I was getting invited at that point. Until later on in the radio show, they mentioned about how I was coming down for that, and I was like, oh wait. Oh, that's what's going on now. So that's really cool. I'm honored. It's crazy that it's happening to me, but I'm really just hoping to just enjoying it is all I can say. It's been a blast, and
that's going to be fun, man. Yeah, that's going to be a really, really fun time.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
So Brian says, ask Nate about his boat rig. It was the best story of the Big Bass Bash. I'm just guessing you don't have like a 2025 21-foot boat with a 250 on it.
No. So I mentioned in the fall of 22 was my first bash. So about 2 weeks before that, I purchased a $1,500 Ragin' Cajun. It's a 1986 with an 84 Johnson 150 on it.
Nice.
So I brought that down, and I was just praying it made it through the first batch, honestly, and didn't kill me. Bringing a 17-foot boat, I didn't know, down to the Lake of the Ozarks. I don't know if I had a death wish or what I was going for at that time, but I did surprisingly well, and was able to make some upgrade, some small upgrades, fix some electrical stuff over the winter, and brought it for the spring bash, and it's just been going strong. But yeah, it's a little 17-foot boat, dual console, and like you mentioned, like taking out the weight and making it run faster. And it's funny because it's 17 foot. I don't have a whole lot of room for storage. My buddy has to have his tackle bag is half of his back platform because there's nowhere to put anything else in there. The cooler takes up like the whole middle area where you would normally like have you step down in there in the little, I don't know what you call that area, but that's a big cooler there. So it almost looks like a sports cockpit there with two like seats with the middle console there, and there's just no room for anything. And it doesn't handle the waves very well. It's very scary in the afternoon when you get the rogue waves that bounce off the cliffs there. It's wild when you're going along and you just see 2 4-foot rollers crossing in front of you, and you're like, oh God, where do I go? What do I do? And so that was kind of one of my goals before I brought my son down, was to upgrade to at least a close to a 20-foot or above foot boat, so that way I wouldn't be so dangerous when I'm trying to run the lake. Because it's kind of scary in the afternoon on that thing. But
yeah, that's one of the craziest lakes in the country, man.
It really is. I mean, you have to respect that lake, and then top it off, like but it's a perfect boat for me to learn. Not long after I bought it, I went ahead and stuck the lower unit. I'm pretty sure I put it in some mud and went ahead and stripped out reverse. So I haven't had reverse in a hot minute in my motor. So anytime I come to a dock, I either have to bring it in forward and come in a certain direction and hope I do it right, or I just shut the engine off and bring it in with the trolling motor. Unloading is always fun because you can't just back it off. But like we were saying, first world problems, right? I don't have reverse, but it gets me forward in a good clip, and it rides really well. Kept us dry on Sunday, which is pretty impressive given the conditions.
Heck yeah,
that's awesome.
That is so cool.
Hey,
yeah,
keep going forward. Don't look back. You don't need to go backwards.
No, yeah, actually, when I was down there, part of the reason I wanted to come down too, other than the radio station, is that up here, bass boats, bass boats aren't don't come up for sale very often as much up here. You have a lot more aluminum, and you have a lot more multi-species boats, walleye, and so I wanted to come down there and look and see what I could find, and I actually found a used 98 R93 Ranger that was in super good condition with low miles that I picked up when I was down there. And so I am upgrading a bit.
So you got a new boat?
A new to me boat. Yeah, it's a 98, but it's really nice. It's like, it's an R93, so it's almost 20 foot long.
Does it have reverse?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah. You deserve reverse. I mean, you just caught an 8-something pound bat. You deserve reverse.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, unfortunately, if that Cajun was 2 foot longer, I'd have sunk a bunch of money in to fix it. But like literally the fiberglass under the gas tank is corroding away. And I have serious concerns I'm going to hit a wave and my gas tank's just going to go down to the bottom of my hole from underneath my seat. That's a serious concern I have. The floor, I think I just have a piece of like outdoor OSB on the floor. So that way, when you step in there, you don't put your foot through to the hole because the floor is soft. So it needs a new floor. I basically just been trying to Band-Aid this until I could save enough money to buy an improved boat. And luckily for me that it came in this manner, because it probably would have been a lot longer before I could have upgraded.
Well, I mean, you got your money's worth out of that boat, right?
Oh, every penny's worth. Now, like, I can't sell the thing. It wouldn't even be worth it to sell it anyway, but now I really can't sell it.
Well, that's what, I'm thinking, like, front yard lawn ornament, plant some flowers in it, and leave it out there for the rest of its days.
That's once we find our forever home, that's definitely going to become a fixture of our lawn.
Yeah, at least like during Christmas time, you could have like the Santa Claus in there and deck it out in Christmas lights, kind of pimp it out and make it very festive.
Yeah, when I was down there, I was talking to one of the boat dealerships, and they were talking about their expansion, and I kind of hinted I'd be willing to donate the cage, and if they wanted to throw it in their showroom for some sort of thing, but they didn't seem too interested in it.
They didn't want a liability in their showroom.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
all through the floor.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like, all the value in that boat's in the electronics on it, and so once I take that off, it's pretty much just going to be a lawn ornament.
Hey, you say that, but think about all boats right now. It's either a brand new motor or all electronics is the entire worth of the entire boat.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you can find some. I don't know. It's not, but there's some nice holes out there without a trailer motor and electronics for very, very cheap. You're correct. That's not where the value's in the motor. And this one, luckily, the same boat dealership actually was very familiar with this boat and was able to verify that it had very low hours, and about the only damage, like the clear coat's perfect. The only damage really to it is dock rash from when it was sitting in the slip, and those 8-foot rollers came through. They're always going to get bigger every time you talk about them.
Well, I mean, do you want to put the first scratch on a boat, or do you want
no?
Yeah. See?
No, that was. Well, I almost kind of, this boat's still a little too nice for me to go do my dock fishing. I love that about my cages, man. I take that thing everywhere. I put a new. This is bad. I put a new a Garmin. I was getting wrong. Force, right? That's what's on the Garmin. Anyways, I think 2 weeks before the Oklahoma or the Grand Lake Bash, and when I got done, the side of it was just completely scratched from all of the cables I had run up against fishing docks. And I was like, oh man, this is why I don't have nice things, because I just instantly scratched them up.
Yeah.
So, I think it was 2 trips into my Ultrex, and I'm gonna call my dad out on this one. I got back into the boat, and I'm looking at the front of my Ultrex. I'm like, why is my Ultrex white? And he's like, I don't know. It's like, it looks awful like a dock pole to me, bud. And he's like, yeah, I may have bumped into a little bit. I was like,
a little bit.
Well, I didn't do it. You did it.
Oh man,
first trip.
No. Yeah, so that will be definitely something I'm going to be a little bit more cautious about going way back in there. And that, but hey, but at least now, if I do get myself in a little trouble, I can back myself out of it, which is not an option.
That's right.
You got options, man. I got
options, man. I can pull right up there and just back right out, which is it would have been handy a few times. We had to break the paddle out and kind of get ourselves out of some weird situations when I couldn't get the trolling motor. That just
makes this story so much better.
I mean, like you get snagged and you don't want to lose your lure, so you get a little too close to shore and you can't get your trolling motor in anymore. And the only option is to drop the big motor and back out. And at that point, I'm like, grab the paddle, dude. You're gonna have to pull this out until I get my trolling motor in. And then it's a matter of pushing this out.
I love it.
Yeah. You're gonna be like, look at me, I got reverse.
Oh man, it felt so good the first time I drove this boat. He's like, oh yeah, let's back it off. I'm like, oh, it's so crazy. It's so smooth. No, just right in the reverse and backed right off. I was sold. Perfect. The carpet looked immaculate, and I was like,
Does it have a good trolling motor on it and stuff? The new one?
No, actually, there was a kind of a cheaper one on there, and it sold when I bought the boat. It had everything on it, and then I kind of just randomly was like, do you want that trolling motor? Because I'm just going to take it off, and I didn't really want to deal with selling it. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
But then he kind of started talking about the graph that was up front, because he actually had the older live scope and everything on the boat. And he's like, well, what about that graph? Do you want that one? I'm like, well, I kind of graph, those actually have some value to them. And I started looking at it, and he had a couple of graphs, but I have all my graphs and my trolling motor and everything ready, on my boat, ready to go
over swapping them out.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Here, how about this much? And you can just take all this crap off the boat. Leave the wires, because I don't want to rerun that stuff. So he took the graphs, the trolling motor, and the black box and the old LSV off. And so I got some money back off the boat right away. And now I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about it. No, she just went brain dead looking at that comment. Put it in reverse and I'll buy it. Yeah, pretty much. I'm easy to please.
You know,
That's your week.
what's coming to mind? I don't know if I'm sure you guys have seen it. Is the guy, the firework guy? Put it in reverse, Terry.
Yeah. Oh man, that joke's been said more than once when we're stuck up against the
I'm sorry, I had that's been.
No, you're right. No, it's been said more than once in our boat. We're the types of always we try to keep it lighthearted, man. If you take it too seriously, you'll get angry. And I went through that phase, like, you know, my second or third bash before I was able to finally just take it as a fishing trip. You know, not like something I have to go make money on or anything like that. But it's $100,000 is a lot of money, and it can really, you know, mentally it can kind of be exhausting at first. But once I finally got over that whole, hey, this is just my fishing trip. This is, if I went to the casino with $200, I ain't walking out with money either. So, you know, enjoy it. But I was really excited, you know, again, to know I was cashing a check, and didn't no idea it was going to be that big of one until it went on the scale. And that's why you see the reaction you see from me is just genuine. Like, I had no idea, no clue what was going on until it was on the scale.
A lot of us are tournament anglers, and I mean, that's that drug that we live for, right? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Dropping it on the scale and figuring it out. Like, now we got a pretty good idea what you got in your sack. Like, unless you're Gabe and you undershoot everything. Like, walks up there, he's 12 pounds and drops 22 on the scales, but he's not that bad. But
oh man, and well, that's one thing though. I was kind of joking with my buddy, looking at the weights on Sunday and stuff. I was like, I don't think one thing I was comfortable with was knowing that nobody was sandbagging an 8.5 pounder, you know, waiting for the end of the day to weigh it. So exactly. I would have known right away whether or not I was beat. I didn't have to worry about sandbagging.
What was some big cojones to sit out with an 8 pounder in your live?
It was 828 was the official weight.
Okay. Yeah. And you caught it on Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday. It was about 12:30, but by the time
you had a sweat. I mean, it's still a sweat out, right? Like,
oh yeah, because all the numbers on Saturday were just outrageous.
Yeah,
and so I fully expected Sunday to. And everybody was talking about Sunday shaping up to be just a monster fishing day again, which didn't bode well for me. But luckily, by about 11 o'clock, I kind of was looking at the weights and stuff, and once that one closed and nothing was over 7 pounds, I was starting to feel pretty good. And then once about noon hit and still hadn't had anything over 7 pounds weighed, I put my pole down. I sat down on the deck of my boat. I kicked my foot up on the gunwale, and I used my remote to drive Justin around while he fished for the last hour of the day on the boat, because I was just trying to conceptualize that this is actually happening. And, you know, it was wild. But yeah.
What was the drive home like?
Oh man, I looked back at that check I think 3 times to see if it was actually real, you know, still actually going on. They give you that big check, you know, and it was sitting right behind me, and a few times I looked back, I'm like, oh, it's actually there. Usually that drive home you're pretty tired. I don't think my eyes got tired once.
Oh yeah, you were stoked, man.
Oh, I was on cloud 9. It took me a good week. I think finally on Sunday I was kind of mentally and physically starting to finally recover from just the tournament, the win, everything like going on. Just it was a whirlwind, but I mean, I couldn't be more grateful that it happened.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
But
I'm very grateful. But yeah, I'll be at the Grand Lake one, and I'll be back in the fall. Got to see if I can repeat. No one's ever done that, so gotta try that out. But it'll be fun. This is great. This is really a great tournament, and I'm really thankful that they put it on for people like me to have the opportunity to win large money like that. You know, fishing, doing what I love. I mean, I spend all week at the office just dreaming to go fishing on the weekends, hoping that the weather is good enough for it and all that. And so, it just goes to show that there are opportunities out there for us. Weekend anglers.
I mean, heck, you talk about $200. Most of us are throwing $200 into the weekend jackpot with 20 or 30 boats in it, trying to win, you know, $2,000 or $3,000, and you threw $200 in, and your
Yeah.
positive.
And your wife's okay with it now that all the times that you went and you didn't bring anything back, she's letting that
Yeah.
go now.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's cool. She didn't mind. She wasn't too angry about the newer boat.
Well, you got
because-
entry fees and lodging paid for the next couple of years at least.
That's
And
what I pretty
reverse.
much. Oh, absolutely. And reverse. And I have reverse now.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it really is a blessing from God that this happened. I was able to upgrade my truck, something I wanted to do for a while because these longer drives, it was a good, reliable vehicle, but it wasn't most comfortable. And I went ahead and upgraded. I got myself a nice, comfortable vehicle for these long drives. It was actually cool. I had it before I went down, and it made that 6-hour drive I feel like 4, just because it's more comfortable. Made the drive more enjoyable, which is important when you're, I have to drive 6 hours in order to catch a good fish.
Yeah. It makes a difference when you got something reliable and comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. It just makes going, makes the trip more enjoyable and stuff. And, we ended up sleeping on the at the ramp, but that was more of like a convenience factor. We honestly figured we would probably end up going to the Gravois on day 2, because that way when we didn't have to go to the reward ceremony to collect a check, we could just shoot home an hour quicker. That's kind of why we were more like staying out there. We go hunt. We're deer hunters too, and so when we'll go deer hunting, we'll camp out when it's cold. So we just enjoy being outdoors. And so,
You're accustomed to sleeping in your truck and just out in the open.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. It's easy. Like if you're an Airbnb is nice if they have a dock or a slip for you to use, stay with the hotel and stuff like that, because then you're not fighting the ramps. But I think if you're not going to stay there or have one of those, our method's pretty darn good because we're already there in the morning, so we don't have anywhere to drive. We can sleep right until we go into the lake. We have the flexibility. Like I said, we could have left there on Sunday and headed to Gravois, if we weren't having any luck down south. But naturally, we had pretty good luck. The luck we had on Sunday kept us down there at the Niangua Arm, and but probably be where I fish for a while, doing this going forward.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't have mosquitoes right now. Like that's another big thing. That's like the times that I've slept out in my truck. I've done that. I've done that multiple times. I think the last time I slept in my truck before a tournament was at Smithland Pool on the Ohio River, and it was in like July. And that's not a good idea.
That's
be
crazy.
On the Ohio River in July.
Crazy.
These mosquitoes were trying to pull me out of the little crack in my window.
I'm sure they didn't carry you away. Yeah,
they were trying. I think I woke up and half of my t-shirt was like on the other side of the window because they were trying to pull me out of the damn truck. But
we'll talk to them.
Yeah.
No,
so if you're gonna sleep outside, this is the time to do it right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Late fall or early spring.
Yeah, and the October one's actually pretty good because it's usually getting cooler then too.
Yeah,
the spring one's definitely better for it because the bugs haven't had a chance to come out as much in force. The October one, you're really relying on the a freeze or a really cold night or two before you sleep outside to really knock the bugs down.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You were just
I opened up my camper tonight. I got a camper shell in the back of my truck, and I opened it up tonight. There was 3 red wasps in there. I'm like, oh Lord.
Oh, geez, yeah. And so I ended up last time we did. So last fall we actually did the same thing with the Gravois arm and one of the ramps slept in it. We both slept in the back of the truck that time. But I'm getting old, and it was a little too hard little too hard for me to be able to get much sleep, and so I actually just slept in my seat of my truck, and my buddy slept in the back of the truck. We had the first night he complained because he just kept rolling down the bed. So the second night we left my action packer in there, so we had something to keep.
You gotta find a flatter parking spot, bud.
Yeah, man. Where are you gonna find what flat there? There's no flat.
You were parked on the boat ramp. You're like, I'm gonna be the first one to get in today.
No. It's everything is curved or not flat there. It's unreal trying to put a boat in there at some places. It's wild.
I get it.
The steepness of those ramps and stuff is crazy. But yeah, I've not seen a flat parking lot in that state.
It reminds me of one camping trip that we were staying. It was Gabe will know at Montauk area, and the site that we had was like, it wasn't like side of the hill, but it was on a slight incline, and I was in a cot. And the whole night I had to hold on to the top rail so I wouldn't like slide all the way down. Just gravity would slowly bring you down throughout the night every time you moved a little bit. And before long, I'm 6'2", so I'm already hanging off of a cot anyway.
Yeah.
And not much, and you can't just hang on. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the ideal of having your buddy sleep in the back of the truck too, because if there's a bear or something that comes, you'll know that it's coming.
Yeah, and if someone's gonna,
he'll give you a heads up.
Yeah,
he'll gonna get him before it's gonna get you.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's always the plan. I lock those doors, have those windows up.
So, do you have a camper shell, or is he just like under the stars in the back?
He woke up very, very damp Saturday morning. His sleeping bag had to get laid out for the day, but yeah, it was very, very damp. That's another reason why I was like, I'm gonna sleep in the truck. I knew it was gonna get really damp that night. Yeah. The next morning, I was like, I'm just gonna sleep in my truck because I don't want to wake up wet. And so, but no, he enjoys it. He's much more the outdoorsy of the two of us, and he's always going out, and he packs out and does these camping trips, out where you can't. It's out in western Nebraska, you can't take anything with wheels on the area, and so you have to pack everything in. And he'll pack in for 3 days and pack out, and so it doesn't matter to him. But I'm not that type, not so much. I'm more of
I used to be that type, and then and this is not a dig at all, but I make money, and I'm gonna be comfortable.
Yep.
I'm gonna spend a little bit extra money on a hotel room, and I'm gonna be comfortable. I'm gonna shower and a bed, and I might have to fight off the roaches and the mice for my crackers, but I'm gonna at least have a bed to stay in. Gabe knows exactly he can see the hotel that we stayed at, or the cabin.
Yeah, I definitely I asked him on Saturday night if we should, or Saturday evening, I'm like, should we have splurged on a hotel because I could really go for a shower right about now. It seemed like it was okay at that point, but no, it made the trip that much better knowing that we just went down there and on the bare minimum and still were able to win. It just makes it awesome. And
you got acclimated to the environment. You were one with the fish by sleeping outside. Yeah.
Make sure they couldn't. I smelled like fish. I slept on the docking area, so I smelled like them. They couldn't, they wouldn't smell me coming. I was able to sneak up on them better that way.
The old dude that dumped out his bucket of minnows there on the dock, you can roll around in that a little bit, and
exactly.
That's the best.
Got to see some pretty nice spoonbills. That was kind of crazy. It's not something that's around here, but man, some of the spoonbills people were pulling out of their boats at the ramp was wild. That looks like that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, those things get like massive. I saw one on. I went to Bull Shows this year, and I think we saw one when you were with me too, JB. I believe. But my buddy Dell down there has got live scope, and we saw like, on the screen it's like this big, but he's got it gridded out, and like by the grids, like each box is 5 feet, and it took up almost 2 of the boxes. So you're like, that's like it wasn't quite that big, but that's like a 7-foot fish swimming around down there.
Absolutely,
huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what throws me off down there at the Ozarks is you'll see on the live scope, you'll see fish like that on there, and you're like, what is that thing? Like,
that's
I know it's not a bass. No, it's not a bass, but what is that thing? I don't want that to get pull me in the water, take my boat with it.
That's why I freshwater fish. I'm not a big saltwater guy. Like,
no, I know. I definitely feel like I'm gonna need a bigger boat that quite a few times.
But you got one now, brother.
I'm very excited for it. Hoping it lasts me 10 years. So that's my goal for the boat and the truck. So.
All right, fellas.
10 years before I cash a check, though.
Let's wrap this sucker up, man.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's been a great pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, same, bro. Congratulations. Great story. And glad you got a new boat with reverse. Glad you got a $100,000 check. And I'm really excited for you to get down there and do that invitational, that Missouri or invitational or whatever it was that you got invited to. That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
No, absolutely. It's an honor, and I'm very thankful for it, and thank Jesus for everything that's come my way so far.
Absolutely, brother. Amen.
God is good, man. No doubt about that. So, all right.
Awesome,
Thanks
man. You
to
have a great
everybody.
night.
Yeah, it was good hanging out with you. Take care and best of luck in the future. And everybody on here, thanks for hanging out with us. We do this every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. So hopefully we will see